Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt, and I'm actually here at Road America for the 2024 Mama Spring Rally. And I've been spending some time with the brand new Toyota Camry. So today, we're gonna cover the best and the rest. Let's get into it. Before we get into the pros and cons, let's talk about what's new for this year. Now, this is the 9th generation of Toyota Camry. 9 generations, pretty amazing. So you get a new look, you get new powertrain options or option, and you get a new interior and you get new technology. And we're going to talk about all of that in more detail coming up now. And very much like the Crown Signia that we've also been spending time with today here at Road America, there's just a little lack of choice. So the first con of the Camry isn't necessarily a con in my opinion, but if you're the one that doesn't necessarily want a hybrid powertrain, you're kind of gonna have to get one because the new 9th generation Camry is hybrid only. It's their new 5th generation hybrid system, and we'll explore that more on the road, but it's supposed to be a little bit more performance oriented. And a little bit of driving I've done so far definitely speaks to that a little bit. So we'll talk about that more behind the wheel. But if you go for front wheel drive, you'll get 2 motors, or if you go for all wheel drive, you'll get 3, which means you'll have E all wheel drive. And E all wheel drive is available for every single trim of this new Camry. Now, front wheel drive cars are gonna make about 225 horsepower. All wheel drive is gonna get you about 7 more horsepower to 232. And those are big jumps from last year. Last year is down 30 horsepower compared to what we have now. Now, to be honest, the hybrid, like I said, is exactly what I'd get. So if you're an old school petrol only person, maybe it's a con for you, but it's not at all for me. The Accord does still offer a non-hybrid if you just want gas, but for me, this is absolutely the sweet spot and it makes a lot of sense. And the next point is that it's just kind of vanilla. And it's not necessarily the car's fault, it's just the fact that it is a Camry. Now, the styling itself is interesting, but generally it's not an overwhelmingly exotic or exciting car, but that's not really what you want a Camry for anyway. You want reliability, dependability, and simplicity. And that's kind of what this car is. That's its charm. It is going to be reliable and efficient and easy to drive. It's the perfect sedan for someone who just needs to get from A to B. And I think with that, we start to talk about all the places that this car shines. And I think one of the first places it does that is with the styling. Now, this gets Toyota's latest new hammerhead design language that we've seen on the Prius, the Toyota Crown, and the Crown Signia that, again, we've been spending time with. What that basically means is you get this full slat all the way across the front fascia with your LED runners up above, making almost a C pattern, and then you've got the projectors right next to it, unlike the Crown Signia where they're a little bit lower. But you do get this kind of gradiented, body-colored front grille here. It's very interesting. But one of the things I like is the fact that your running light is amber. It's a very race car feeling. It's not actually jumping and jittering. It's just because it's incredibly sunny out here and that's just the way that it comes through in the camera. But I do like the new face. It's aggressive, it's elegant, it's a little bit different than you might expect. Another thing I really like about the styling here is that from the profile, it's not too dissimilar from previous generation, but you still can get the two-tone design. So we've got the black roof here with the more gunmetal gray on our XSE trim, and I think it does look nice and sporty. You've got some different wheel options up here, which again, fill out the wheel wells well. They're 19 inches here on your XSE, and you've even got some aggressive front splittering, some side skirts, and then a blacked out wing mirror to go along with your two-tone roof, and even a little bit of a hump here for a flared rear hip to give it, again, that kind of sporty feel. And then, very similar to like what we've seen in some of the BMWs we've tested recently, you've got a subtle molded in black lip spoiler, very similar to what we had in the IS500 as well. Take a look at the rear end. And it's not a full width tail bar, but it does have this black mustache that goes all the way across. Again, the kind of C-shaped tail lights, which mirror the front headlights as well. You've got your Beyond Zero Pearl style HEV badge, XSE, and then dual outlet exhaust on one side with a little bit more of a diffuser. Maybe we'd see some additional quad tips to give it a nice symmetrical look, but other than that, I think this looks the business. What do you guys think? Leave it down in the comments. And we'll talk about this in detail a little bit more, but so far it has been a joy to drive. It's not super fizzy, but you do get a little bit of fun, but it's perfectly pleasant. And again, we'll go into this a little bit more in a bit. And we're back under the hood to talk about things on the good side. Now, it does have more power than it did last generation, which is fabulous, but it's also a little bit more efficient. Now, depending on spec, you can get over 50 mpg in this thing. That was a big number when the new Prius came out, and now that you get it in the full-ish size sedan, That's pretty fantastic. Now that's going to be for a front wheel drive car. If you go for all wheel drive, you're still going to be in the mid to high 40s, but that is pretty good. You get that eCVT for your transmission, and you get all wheel drive to maximize efficiency. And it really, really does. So good job in the new Hybrid 5 system. And I do want to touch on the interior in general for a little bit, because it is pretty nice, especially in this segment. You've got really unique accents. Look at the weave and the patterning in the seats here. It's very Gatsby. You guys know I love that. And the seats themselves are really comfortable. And you even have the detailing continuing into your door card here. It goes solid red for your dash, but kind of a full width Audi RS5 style vent dash thing. And it's just really nice. You've got little detailing in your vents here. It does make it just feel a little bit more expensive than it otherwise would. It looks almost basically like Crown Light in this design. But your seats are very good too. You've got 2-person memory, not on the XE, but you do get heated and cooled seats here, even on your XSE. You get a heated steering wheel, and it's just nice. But one of the interesting things is, we've got a more normal style gear selector versus the Lexus LC 500 style that we've seen in the Prius and some of the Crown variants. So, interesting little tidbit, but yeah, very nice interior overall. And then we're gonna talk trunk, and this is why everyone's going to SUVs, but don't count out sedans. Now, importantly, to not look like a fool in the wild, you've got your reverse camera here in the center. Your trunk button is offset here. It's got a little strut actuation, so you don't actually, it's basically powered. It's not gonna power close, but it'll just open up on its own more or less, which is really nice. You can fold your seats from the back here, but your trunk space is very good. It says 15.1 as the total cubic feet rating, but to be honest, it feels way bigger than that. Super wide, especially with these pockets on either side, and really, really deep, both laterally and height-wise. So I'm very, very impressed. Now, technically, the Honda Accord does 16.7 cubic feet, so that's more, but again, I think this feels bigger than 15.1 to me. So very impressed with the trunk and the cargo practicality here on the Camry. But speaking of practicality, we are gonna check out the rear seats. Now, first of all, here's your door card. The materials are okay. You do get a padded armrest here, and you get some little accenting and some color contrast, red stitching, and all that good stuff. But the same seating design and the same detailing from the front continues in the back. It's very, very good here. Now I'm gonna step in at 6'1", as you guys know. Legroom is fantastic. Where it starts to fall down a little bit is in terms of headroom. Some of that slopey roofline stuff does translate into less headroom. So if you're 6'1", like myself, maybe don't wear your hat. But you do have map pockets back here. They're very deep. You've got climate vents back here, and you do have USB-A and USB-C charging as well. And not to be forgotten, you have cup holders as well. And I believe, depending on your trim, you might even be able to get heated rear seats. So legroom, great. Whole rear seat situation, pretty great, aside from headroom. So just have less torso if you can. But let's talk about the tech suite here, because it's pretty robust and pretty good. You do get a 10-inch head-up display for your XLE trims and your XSE trim that were in here. You have a fully digital, that's a hard word apparently this afternoon, digital instrument cluster. There's a couple new graphics in there. The speedo is a little bit different, but overall, very good. A little bit of customizability, and you love to see that. Makes it feel a little bit more modern than some of the competitors. Almost forgot to mention, your cluster, 7 inches as standard. The optioned up one that we have here, 12.3 inches. Your center screen, also 12.3 inches. It's the typical Toyota connected system that we've seen and tested in a bunch of stuff over the last 2-3 years. So wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, over-the-air updates, dual Bluetooth connection. It's nice and snappy. And you do get a wireless charger as standard. We'll throw it into reverse. And we even have 360 cameras. And the car color does match what we have here, which is pretty good. Ooh, I almost forgot to check. If we go into our gear, so you can select what color you want the car to be. So if I didn't want it the color of my car, I could change it. I don't know why I would change it, but I could. And that's the point. If we're not gonna have options for powertrains, we have options for colors in our 360 camera. Thank you, Toyota. But overall, I do also want to mention Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 with the new eyeball watcher. It's a very good system. Their adaptive cruise, their lane keep works really, really well. So good job, Toyota. And overall, the tech suite, I couldn't really ask for much more. And more importantly, it's better than the Honda system. Now this is interesting. This looks like a white runner. And it is in fact on, it's not just reflecting. This is a white LED runner now. So Interesting that you can make it either white or amber depending on how you have it set. But the last thing we'll talk about before we go for a bit of a drive is the price. Now, the new Camry starts at $28,400. Now, that is about $500 more than the Honda Accord. But the Camry also brings a hybrid at that price point, and with all that efficiency and more power, it is probably a better value than you're gonna get in the Honda. So, with that being said, let's grab the keys, go for a bit of a drive. Okay, sport mode. Time to see what Hybrid 5 is all about. Oh, okay. Steering. Yes. I'm listening. Uh-huh. Why is it gripping? This is a Camry. Brakes. Brakes are very solid. Power. I like Hybrid 5. Hybrid 5 is a good hybrid. So that's what they were telling me. This new Hybrid 5 system is more sporty oriented. It's not like doubling, tripling down on efficiency. And it's supposed to be more dynamic and more engaging, and I think it kind of is. I mean, it's never gonna escape the fact that it's a Camry, but it's not bad. You get a decent sound to it. Makes 232 horsepower in this all-wheel drive. 225-ish for front-wheel drive. But let's remember, not too long ago, Volkswagen GTIs were making that power. Now, Matt, what does a Volkswagen GTI have to do with this Camry? Nothing. Nothing at all. But I say it just to keep things in context, to keep things in perspective. Obviously, this is a sedan, it's not a hot hatch, but the power here is fine. That's kind of the story that I'm telling, the point that I'm illustrating here. The power is fine. You get a little bit more sound, but I think that kind of adds to the experience. This is the XSE after all. This is the more sportier one. And as we saw back there on the hills, the grip was pretty good. But now that we've chilled it out and we're in normal mode, just kind of casually hanging around, let's even go into eco mode. We'll do one further. Now, I will say, it's hard to judge cabin noise because it is incredibly windy here today. There was a tornado last night. We all had to like take shelter in the hotel, and there's a lot of leftover wind today. It's been super, super windy, and there is wind noise coming into the cabin here. But another thing that I've really, really noticed is the seating position is great. It's exactly where I want it to be, but the belt line here is so low that I feel like I can see everything, especially out the sides, out the doors here. The belt is so low, the glass is pretty vertical, the visibility is excellent. It's easy to drive, it's relaxing because I feel like I can see everything. I feel like I know exactly what's going on. Country roads. Yes, I know. Classic Toyota hybrid system. Kind of takes you off in that EV-ish mode, and then when it starts getting going, then it adds in some gas power. It's very smooth, it's very quiet. If you had music going, you really couldn't tell the difference. It's very smooth, very good, very refined. And it also is gonna get good fuel economy. I mean, 50 mpg or 51 or whatever the final rating is for front wheel drive, that's pretty amazing. High 40s in a mid-size sedan, that's fantastic for all-wheel drive. And the XSE with a little bit more tire and all this stuff here. This is very solid. It's very Camry in the sense that this isn't a complete reinvention of my concept of a mid-size sedan, but it is almost the Porsche effect, where they kind of own this segment and they just make it a little better, just a little bit more efficient, just a little bit more power, just a little bit more refined, just a little bit more style on the interior. And I think they have to be commended for that. It's pretty good. Let's whip it around and test this turning circle. Brakes, I love the graphics, so I can see exactly what's happening. I'm recouping. Turning circle is great. Oh, I'm in eco too. Let's give me a sport. Boom. Now I've got all the torque. It's a good car. It's hard not to like it. It's got good space in the interior if you're a short torsoed person. Front seats are great. The seats themselves are comfortable, heated and cooled. I like it. All right, so what we're doing is just going back to the hill because there's a little approach where it's a little snaky and then there's some train tracks. So we're gonna test some of the suspension and handling, and then we're gonna try to quick throw it into normal, which won't matter because it doesn't have adaptive suspension. to go over the train tracks and just see how it handles bumps and stuff like that. Now I'm just coasting. I can see that I'm getting charged back in the battery. I'm gonna get on the brakes. It's gonna tell me, I don't know why the new Toyota Lexuses do this, but it tells you when you're on the brakes with those little bars there. Why? I don't know. Why not, maybe, would be the counter argument there. Would you rather have more stuff, less stuff, or to stay the same? Shout out Michael Scott. Okay, we're gonna do a little handling test. So get into the power, 232 roaring horsepower into the S's here. Super flat, easy, good handling. I can feel myself putting load in the tire. I get a sense of what it's doing. Very good suspension. The ride here is very good, and I think that's definitely worth saying. Very supple, borderline luxury car ride. Good job, Toyota. So with that, yeah, thank you to Toyota for letting me have a go in your new Camry. Thank you to Road America for hosting, and thank you to Mama for letting me come once again to your 2024 Spring Rally. It's been a blast. So until next time, see ya.